What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? Mike D here. Black Fathers Now. Yo, got a quick message for you. Something for you to think about, and it's something that I recently dealt with that I think a lot of us deal with on a regular basis, but sometimes we never verbalize it or put it out there. But what is your emotional connection to feedback? What is your emotional connection to feedback? So like when I mean by feedback, or what I mean by feedback is when you say something and someone gives you a response, what's your emotional connection to that response? It's hard, right? Because what I know about myself is that, I'm a person that likes to be liked, right? I like for folks to like me, and so when I do something or say something or put something out there that maybe the feedback from that is not overly positive, that actually touches me internally. You know what I'm saying? And like that pricks my soul, so to speak, because naturally I want to be liked, right? Like I think a lot of people have the strong desire to be liked. But what is your emotional connection to feedback? Now, being hard, right? Fellas, we'll always say, I don't care what people say. But in reality, is that telling the truth? Because truthfully, if you're honest about it, a lot of us have maybe not so healthy connections to feedback, or not so healthy emotional connections to feedback. And maybe some of that is the reason why we don't necessarily take certain steps or do things in a particular way, because of our emotional connection to feedback. Now, I am 100% on board with being empathetic, right? I am 100% on board in regards to knowing your audience and knowing who you're speaking to, and, having context for your conversation or for your product or service or for whatever you do. I'm 100% on board with that, right? But I also have to step back and realize having an emotional connection to the feedback that I receive could potentially be dangerous. Now, let's take fatherhood, right? A lot of us think about it from the perspective of creating stuff or being a content creator. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you're creating something or building a business, whatever, we get emotionally tied to the feedback that our customers give us. But when we think about fatherhood, and as Black fathers, how emotionally connected are we to the feedback that we receive in regards to various aspects of fatherhood? And is that emotional connection, or does that emotional connection then impact ultimately what we do? Or does that influence how we respond or how we do things? Because the thing is, if we're emotionally connected to the feedback, then we might then act emotionally in regards to something that we're doing. And we have to be careful there, right? I think the first thing to do is to step back and really make sure that you have conviction in regards to any decision, any action, any word or words that you choose to use, right? Have conviction behind it all. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is what you put out there. You have zero control over how people take it. You have zero control over what type of feedback you'll receive. So even in the scope of fatherhood, if we don't become emotionally attached to the feedback itself, that sometimes will free us up to think in a way or operate in a way that is best. Because, I know if I do something or say something or put one of my kids in punishment or something, the response that I get is always, very rarely is it going to be favorable, right? But if I am emotionally connected to that response, then that might cause me to slide and maybe not put them in punishment or not put them in timeout or let them get away with, doing something that is not in their best interest, because I'm emotionally connected to the feedback that I'm receiving. Or if I choose, or my wife and I choose to, to do certain activities or to, have our kids participate in certain activities, and let's just say the feedback from onlookers is not necessarily favorable. Maybe they just don't understand it. Maybe they don't agree with it. Maybe that doesn't fit in their wheelhouse. If we are emotionally connected to that feedback, then we might completely abort our intentions or abort our whole, focus for what we had in store for our children. So being emotionally connected to the feedback. Now, you can be emotionally connected to the people. You can be emotionally connected to the situation, but being emotionally connected to the feedback can be dangerous. And the reason I wanted to kind of talk about this today is I recently had some feedback come to me. It wasn't in the scope of fatherhood. It was, in regards to promotions and, business and all that stuff. And I got some feedback recently that I had to kind of check myself because I got emotionally connected to the response that was given, right? And when you're emotionally connected to a response, your first response is then being defensive, right? And so initially, your first reaction is, I got to defend myself because that's not what I intended. But I had to take a step back and realize that as things grow and as your audience, increases, or as you, build connections and all of that, there are going to be people who might not necessarily groove with what you do. And that's okay. I cannot be emotionally tied or emotionally connected to the feedback. I'm emotionally connected to the mission. I'm emotionally connected to the people. I'm empathetic to folks. I'm connected to the context, and I want to understand my audience, and I want to understand all these variables, right? But I'm not going to be emotionally connected to the feedback, because that in turn will then allow me to get off base and then allow other influences to infiltrate how I operate. And thinking about fatherhood, that's another thing that we have to also pay attention to. Are we emotionally connected to the feedback? And if you are, take a step back, reevaluate your position, and realize being emotionally connected to the people, to the situation is fine. But being emotionally connected to the feedback can be dangerous. All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. As always, follow Black Fathers Now on all the social media outlets. This episode has been brought to you by blackfamilyapparel.com, where you can grab some awesome apparel that celebrates the nuances of the Black family. And I guess, you know what? Enjoy your holiday season, fellas. And as always, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.